Welcome to Evolve Together with Empower People, where people are power. I'm Tiffany Joy Greene, MBA. Here, clarity cuts, humor heals, and purpose drives transformation. Join the movement at www.empowerpeople.org and connect with us on YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Facebook, because when people are power, purpose wins. Welcome to a special edition of Evolve Together with Empower People. I'm Tiffany Joy Greene, and with the elections just days away, this isn't business as usual. This is the episode where reflection meets responsibility. Today we're going to do things a bit differently because these next few days will shape years to come. This edition is about clarity, context, and courage. 3 things democracy can't survive without. We're starting with a brand new segment called These Are the Days of Ourstory, led by my partner in purpose, Charles Louthan. Charles is going to take us back, not to history, but to our story. The events, the moments, and the movements from this same week and time that remind us how people, not power, write what comes next. Then I'll take you through the top headlines of this week, seen through a purpose-driven lens, because headlines aren't just news, they're narratives about who we are and what we allow. We'll talk about tech ethics and surveillance, the economic cost of shutdown, hunger at home, Virginia's election showdown, and yes, even a glimmer of hope from a Christmas tree in Rockefeller Center. After that, we'll slow it down with our Coffee Klatch Roundtable, a candid, purpose-fueled conversation between Charles and our guest, Suzie Greene, owner of Brit-Books LLC, and Tamara Chapman, owner of Be Positive Productions, and you. Because this isn't just about politics, it's about people and how these stories shape our daily lives. And before we close, we'll leave you with what we always do, action, because the power is in your hands. Your voice, your vote, your values. So grab your coffee, tune your focus, and open your heart, because this is Evolve Together with Empower People, our story, headlines, and the power in our hands. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, my name is Charles Louthan, and Tiffany Joy Greene invited me today to be on the Empower podcast so that I could go over some history headlines here from the past. But before we begin, I'd like to start looking at that word history, his story. And instead of doing his story today, we're going to do our story. So the first headline of our story is coming from October 28th, 1886, when the Statue of Liberty was dedicated to the United States by France. Thank you, France. And it became an iconic symbol of America, of freedom, of liberty. Give us your poor, you're tired, yearning to breathe free. But our next headline really is going to focus in on that first part, give us your poor. Because the next day on October 29th, well, many years later, 1929, infamous day for the stock market known as Black Tuesday. A day when the stock market crashed. There's a lot of different factors. It helped to kick off the Great Depression, and millions of people overnight lost their wealth. Very painful experience, and something that caused a lot of fear. And for the last one that we're going to focus here today happened on October 30th, 1938. There was already a lot of fear going on, and this one involved a war. But maybe not the war you were expecting. Because on October 30th, 1938, Orson Welles did his War of the Worlds radio broadcast. A famous book that had been written about a Martian invasion on primetime Sunday night radio. People got scared. Because what's scarier than a war? But what was really scary was what would happen years later when the U.S. and the rest of the world found themselves in World War II. And it really makes you wonder, liberty, stock market, and a fictitious war. We talk about fake news today, but I think let's talk a little bit more about truth. So, taking it over to Tiffany and the rest of the gang.
Thank you, Charles. Let's start with a headline that should make every voter stop scrolling. According to the Associated Press, U.S. companies sold and even received government help to export surveillance technology used in China to monitor citizens, track minorities, and build one of the most intrusive facial recognition networks on the planet. Think about that. Silicon Valley innovation powering authoritarian control. Purpose lens, this is about the moral cost of profit. When democracy funds tools of oppression abroad, it weakens its credibility at home. Technology reflects values. If we design it for efficiency without ethics, we become engineers of control instead of architects of freedom. Election connection, this is where policy meets conscience. Who regulates export controls? Congress. Who shapes corporate accountability? The executive branch. Who chooses them? We do. When you vote, you're not just choosing leaders, you're setting the boundaries of power. Democracy can't sell freedom with one hand and surveillance with the other. Reuters estimates that ongoing government shutdown could drain up to $14 billion from the U.S. economy. That's lost productivity, delayed paychecks, frozen contracts, real people, real impact. Purpose lens, this isn't numbers, it's neglect. Every shutdown says our political theater matters more than your livelihood. History reminder, in 1929, no one believed the crash would spiral into depression, but apathy towards accountability always costs more than the crisis itself. Election connection, your vote decides who holds the purse strings. It decides whether public service is stewardship or stagecraft. So when someone says voting doesn't change anything, remember this. Government literally shuts down when leadership can't agree, and only the ballot box reopens it. Every shutdown is an invoice for political irresponsibility, and the taxpayer foots the bill. Millions of Americans are now facing what economists call a food aid cliff. Federal programs like SNAP and WIC are weeks from running out of funding because of the shutdown. Let's put that in human terms. Parents choosing between groceries and gas, seniors rationing meals, children waiting for school breakfast programs to reopen. Purpose lens. Hunger isn't a partisan issue, it's a leadership test. When people go hungry in the richest nation on earth, it's not scarcity, it's system failure. Election connection, this is where your local and federal votes intersect. City councils manage food programs, governors administer aid, Congress funds it. Every ballot matters at every level. The opposite of hunger isn't food, it's justice. You can't preach prosperity while starving your people through policy. Polls show the Virginia gubernatorial race between Democrat Abigail Spanberger and Republican Winsome Earle-Sears is neck and neck. Spanberger, the former congresswoman, emphasizes pragmatic bipartisanship. Earle-Sears, the current lieutenant governor, focuses on conservative economics and parental rights. Purpose lens, this race is more than a state contest. It's a test of national temperament. Do voters reward moderation or polarization? Do they pick collaboration or confrontation? Election connection, Virginia votes often preview national direction. When the state that once anchored both Washington and Richmond splits its votes evenly, it tells the country people are paying attention. Every voter in that booth isn't just deciding a governor, they're deciding what kind of dialogue we'll tolerate in 2026. Elections don't predict our future, they reveal our present. And now, something lighter but meaningful. The 2025 Rockefeller Center Christmas tree has been chosen. This year's spruce comes from upstate New York, a 78-foot symbol that will travel 200 miles to light up Midtown Manhattan in November. Purpose lens? Yes, it's a holiday headline, but symbols matter, especially in heavy seasons. While shutdowns freeze paychecks and campaigns fight for airtime, that tree will stand. Free, tall, and led by ordinary people's energy bills. It's a reminder even when institutions flicker, the public keeps the lights on. That's not sentimentality, that's civic spirit. So, as we gear up for an election, ask yourself, what traditions are you keeping alive? Which symbols remind you that shared light still matters? Hope isn't naive, it's infrastructure.
So let's talk. Which headline hits you the hardest? Before we start this coffee clatch, I might have had a little bit too much coffee today already. Let me go ahead and introduce everybody. So first off, we have Suzie Greene, right down there, owner of Brit-Books LLC. We also have Tamara Chapman, who is going to be right down there at your bottom right, owner of Be Positive Productions and Multimedia Studios. We also have Tiffany Joy right over here, Tiffany Joy Greene, founder of MPWRPeople, and moi, Charles Louthan, the owner of Aloca LLC. So, okay, let's conflab. Which headline hit you the hardest?
Mm.
Are we going in any particular order?
A free for all. It's a coffee clatch. It's just like a regular discussion. Let's do it.
Okay. Personally, they all hit me in a very specific way, but I think the one that hits me the most is probably the government shutdown, because that actually affects me to some extent. I do have some clients that they are not government agencies, but they're grants and other funding is tied to government agencies who are directly affected by the shutdown. So then it has a trickle down effect. And I don't know if our policymakers are really taking into consideration how widespread the shutdown is. It doesn't just affect people who are in the space, or who are in that space of the government officials. Even my father, I just had a conversation with him earlier today, and he's waiting to see if he's going to be paid from his retirement funds that come directly from the government because he's retired military. So, yeah, I think that's why it affects me so much, because it's not just the government agencies or personnel who work directly for the government who are affected. It's everyone.
Out of the like you said, the different agencies and different clients you work with, and those that those that your clients help, can you share with us? I'm not looking for you to disclose confidential information, but like what kind of areas are they helping? Like what programs, what kind of people?
Some law enforcement, loosely based law enforcement, some just agencies that have been put in place to assist people with varying needs. One, well, I don't want to give too many specifics, because then people who know me would know who it is. But like I said, even I don't think that they are. I don't think they truly understand, and maybe they do, and maybe that makes it even worse for me, because maybe they do, maybe they have done, their homework and they do know who it's going to affect, and it just doesn't matter to them. But most people are only a couple of paychecks away from being unhoused themselves, and for older Americans who are they need their retirement because they're no longer in the workforce, and there is nothing else to fall back on. So all of these things that we've come to take for granted is being there, being in place, so that you can just live, not lavishly, but just live, and you have a specific budget that's already laid out for you. Anything that disrupts that, it's a detriment to the people who need it.
And also what I heard you say too is like, it sounds to me like the shutdown, while it's impacting clients and those that they're serving and whatnot. On a very personal level, you have concerns because of your dad being retired from the military. And I would imagine you may even have concerns not just for his retirement per se, that paycheck that comes in or the retirement check that comes in, but like the health services that he's
Well,
dependent
yeah.
on.
So he goes to the VA. He receives his medical his medical I don't even know what I'm trying to say. He has to go to the VA to receive treatment. So it's affecting that because then, of course, there's a shortage of people who can facilitate his needs of all of these other veterans, that have sacrificed their time and pledged their allegiance to this Constitution. So there's that. And then I know for a fact that some of the government shutdowns, well, I mean, it even impacts me, because again, I have clients that rely on government funding to fund these grants, to fund different entities that they work with, so if those people don't get paid, then my clients can't get paid. My clients can't get paid, and they certainly can't pay me. And then that has an effect on me. I'm not a government official, but there again, if they don't get paid, I don't get paid, you know? And then I think it's a lot to ask of people to work for free when, you're, and I could be wrong, maybe my civics, I don't remember everything from civics, but I think that during this government shutdown, the people who work in the administration, the people who work in, for the Senate and Congress, they're still getting paid. They still have health insurance. None of this affects them, but I think if they had to experience the same things that the average person has to experience, I think that this whole shutdown would be, I think they would conduct it a different way.
I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, and I keep coming back to the inscription on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. Now, all of us, we got here one way or the other. Whether you can trace that back or not is all wholly dependent on like historical, our story of how we got here. And the implication of that poem, give me your tired. Would you think that people in America would be tired? But if they're giving me your tired, okay, but what about giving your poor? It gives this implication of we'll give them energy and we'll help them with money and this financial thing. All these huddled masses, all these people yearning to be free. And, the government, you had mentioned civics, the government's a contract. Constitution, it's a contract that you sign up as an American citizen. And it's not perfect. They call it a living document so that we can make changes to it. But, I think that the way that our Constitution and some of those things that were written, we would assume it would protect us. Now, I was born here in the United States. I have lived abroad and I've seen some other things. But Suzie and Tiffany, I was curious, what does the Statue of Liberty look like maybe to cultures outside of the United States? And Tam, if you have any insight on that, I'm just kind of curious. Is it the beaming symbol of liberty, or is it just another kind of gaudy American statue?
For me, the image has changed. We came to a very different America almost 20 years ago. A very different America. And I have to say that if I was making that decision today, based on everything that we had back then, it would be a flat no. I think that probably answers your question without me being derogatory and offensive, but I would not No way. My family are here. Everybody's well established. I am a legal citizen. I am a citizen of the United States. I can vote. But just to touch on something that Tammy said to me from the humanitarian side of things, if these lawmakers were experiencing the same fear and drought of everything that we know, this would not happen. Because it's always the others that suffer. And if they were practicing what they preach, none of us, there would be no difference. There wouldn't be an us and them. We would all be in the same boat. And when everybody's in the same boat, we all treat people a little bit differently. So I'm grateful that my family will not be looking for food over the next couple of weeks, couple of months. We're very fortunate for that, but that does not stop me thinking about those people that are going to be in that situation. I cannot imagine what that feels like. If you cannot, never mind if you can't feed yourself, if you can't feed your children. I cannot imagine. I would like to think that sentiment was what our leaders were feeling too. But it's a standoff. It's a standoff that's resulted in a shutdown. They're not thinking of us. They work for us, but they're not thinking of us. It's about the battle, the power. And from a professional standpoint, I am privy, obviously, to a lot of mechanics of how companies work. I can see firsthand that if these healthcare credits are removed, this is going to change a lot of things for a lot of people. And I am guessing that probably will happen. I just don't understand where this is going to end and how it's going to end with the result on the people who don't have money. If you've got money, you're good. You're golden. You're going to have a lot of it. But I am at my wit's end wondering, when is this going to end? I'm just talking about the shutdown. I'm talking about all of it. So to answer your question, Charles, 19 and a half years ago, it was a great move. Would I do it again today? No.
I want to add one also follow-up perspective to that as well.
May I answer the question?
Oh, yes, of course. I was going to get another follow-up perspective about Lady Liberty being a woman as well, if you want to add that into your answer, but.
So two things. So I want to first make a comment. Something that you said, Suzie, you said, aren't we all in the same boat? And immediately as you said that, in my mind, the boat that came to mind was the Titanic. And not because we're headed for the iceberg. Yep. Hey, I do that, Charles, for real. I do that for real. But I'm the real player. But it's also because when I think of the Titanic, you have tiers of people. We all are on the same boat, but we're not all treated the same. And in this country, we've never all been treated the same. We didn't even treat the people that actually were on this land first as people. We treated them, the term that was used was savages. So when I think of also the Statue of Liberty, Charles, I think about how France gave that to the United States as a gift. And I always thought it was terribly ironic that if you fast forward the time frame in which we were given the gift from France and how the Americans would not have won the American Revolution without the French, then fast forward to the 1900s and World War II, what do Americans say about the French? And Americans tend to take, the opinion is, and I'm making a broad statement, which isn't true for every single person, but I hear this a lot, France wouldn't be France without the United States because they wouldn't have won World War II. But I don't hear the same level of gratitude from the United States for the French, because the United States would have never won the American Revolution without the French. So when I look at the Statue of Liberty, I see a token a token of democracy, so to speak, a gift given from France to the United States without gratitude. That's what I see. And as a person who was not born here and didn't come by way of ship, being a Canadian who has not only the duality with Canada and the United States, but also the duality of Scottish and French heritage, I find it all terribly ironic. And again, it's like this failure to look at the reality versus propaganda. I mean, I think what we're witnessing now with what we're not just witnessing, what we're living through with the shutdown is if we are realizing we have a fundamental, like if this were business, and I know, I think all of us at some point or other, I've used this analogy, and some people hate the analogy because it's government and it's country and you shouldn't think about it in terms of a business. But if we were to look at it as a business in terms of strategic planning, when you look at strategic planning, you always set up, what is the big, hairy, audacious goal? Where do we want to be 20, 50, 100 years from now? What do we want to be known for internally, meaning as citizens? What do we want to be known for externally from the countries around us? And when you look at the words you recited from the Statue of Liberty, do those words match our actions that our country is taking? Do they correlate? And if they don't, then what does that do? It builds distrust. So we have to fundamentally ask, who are we and what do we want to be known for? And actually own it. Because there is a complete, it's kind of like who here has bought something from a company and a company has said, we are this company, this is what we do all these good deeds, but then they don't do those things. And then you're like, I'm not buying from them anymore. I feel yeah, right. I feel like that's where, for a lot of us, where we sit right now.
If I might add, I don't know if you're finished, Tiffany, and I don't even know if it's my turn, but
Tammy, it is your turn.
okay, cool. Yeah, so you asked the question of what I think about whenever I see the Statue of Liberty. I think the symbol in and of itself is an amazing symbol to represent, this idea of unification and all these other things. But something that you said too, Tiffany, it just kind of made me think, coming from the perspective of an African American and Asian woman, a woman of color. My outlook on everything is so different. It just keeps harkening back to this thing that's gotten me so frustrated this week. It's this notion of it's hypocrisy, and then there's this notion of this double standard. So on the one hand, you are painting this picture that we are a nation that is welcoming to everyone. We love the immigrants as long as they look like a certain group of people, but you other ones, go back where you came from. I mean, I'm a little sore today because of experiences that I've had just in the last couple of days where I was reminded that, hey, you don't look like the rest of us, so take this, and it's almost, I don't know. I mean, but by the same token, the expectation is that I'm supposed to be okay with the way things are, and I'm not supposed to, don't just look over here. Don't look at what's happened in the past. Don't, and the things that happened in the past have shaped the systems that we are living in today. So that's where I have trouble, answering that question, because I was born in Kansas. I don't think you can get any more middle America than Kansas. As a matter of fact, I think Kansas is in the center of the United States. But be that as it may, be that as it may, it just that poem, it doesn't apply to everybody. It doesn't apply to everybody. And it's talking about, the United States, and we're Americans, and we this and that or whatever. You want to dictate to the rest of the world how they should comport themselves, how they should treat other people and stuff. But meanwhile, you have this whole legacy, this ugly, ugly legacy that nobody wants to talk about because it makes other people uncomfortable. But if someone breaks into your home and they take everything that you have, and then the police catch up with them, do you then go, well, that happened like 20 hours ago. Just let it go. Or do you want your stuff back? Or do you want, someone, there has to be some sense of like restitution, something, and it's not that, well, they got your stuff. So Tiffany, good luck to you. Hope you get some more.
So,
oh my gosh, it's just very frustrating for me. For lack of a better word.
Tammy, you're very, very close, if not right on one of the three themes that I ran through my three stories. Anybody want to take a guess at what that theme is that all three of those historical headlines, in my opinion, had connection? I'll go through them again. You had the Statue of Liberty dedicated in 1886. You had Black Tuesday on October 29th. And then you had Orson Welles' War of the Worlds.
Aliens. Immigrants.
Yeah,
aliens.
Aliens. That's not the one I was talking about, but yes, there is kind of foreign or outside influence in how it like affects us as individuals, right? The Statue of Liberty dedicated, you've got an opinion about it. Most people have an opinion about it. It is like one of the top three symbols of America throughout the world, and it's essentially kind of saying that this is a sign that says, hey, we're open for business, right? But then is that really true? The other thing in terms of Black Tuesday is, y'all, I'm gonna go take one moment to go deal with him, if that's okay, because this is so.
I was wondering whose dog it was, because we all got doggies, so I was like, who's...
Yeah. But so one was aliens, and the other one is fake. Statue of Liberty. Stock market's kind of, there's obviously real value there, but if your value's there and you don't have it in hand, is it real? And so what is real? What is fake? Those are two of the things.
I think one of the things for both Tammy and Suzie, as you were talking about the shutdown specifically, how that was like a headline and how that impacts you. And then Suzie was also talking quite specifically about hunger and how people are going to, what are, especially parents with children, how are they, how is it going to be in those shoes and whatnot. And I heard both of you say, like, did they know this? Meaning they. Who is they? I'm going to ask the question, who is they? When you both were talking and you may each have a different take on the they, but I'm curious, who is the they you're referring to?
I was speaking more specifically about the lawmakers.
Same.
The folks who've been put in the position to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The decision makers. The people who are making this happen.
Do you feel, because in the political headlines right now, you're going to see a lot of partisanship, a lot of divisiveness, and you have parties saying we're in the shutdown because of the other party, right? They're going like, psh, right? What are your feelings on that?
There are a few things in life that don't care what party you belong to, that don't care what race you are a member of, don't care what your gender is, doesn't care about any of those things. Death, taxes, hunger, your health care. I mean, if I get sick from something and need care, I need the same care that Suzie might, you know what I mean? Depending on what it is, obviously. But I'm just saying, if I'm hungry, I'm hungry. If Susie's hungry, she's hungry. We might be, we might have varying, degrees of hunger, but hunger is hunger. People need their health care. There are certain things that we are supposed to be entitled to. What was it? The life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I thought, again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been out of school for a very long time, so maybe things have changed. But as far as I understood things to be, they're just certain things that are just like human issues. It has to do with humanitarianism. It has to do with just being a decent human being. It doesn't matter to me that you are a Republican. If I see you hungry, I'm going to feed you. My first question is not, well, what political party are you a member of? Well, what's your race? I don't care. You're hungry. I have something that I can provide you. Would you care for something to eat? I just heard yesterday, and it made me kind of feel away, because one of my friends that I spoke with, they just recently took a trip to Las Vegas. They had a guy who I'm assuming he must have been unhoused, because he came over, and they were outside eating at a little vending trucks, food trucks. So she and her friends were sitting around eating. They're all African American. The guy who came over was Caucasian, but he was clearly, she said it looked like he was in distress or whatever. He comes over to them and says, hey, these guys over here, they took my money and they won't give me blah, 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 or whatever. And they knew that he was, searching for money. But instead they said, hey, because he went on and on and on about being hungry and so forth. So they were like, hey, well, we don't have any money to give you, but here's the second half of this sandwich or whatever. I haven't opened it or whatever. And he just refused and all but said, I can't take this from you because you're Black. It's like, what is happening? You're hungry, but because I'm Black, you can't take the food. Okay. And you saw, I just got this from the vending truck, but you can't. Okay. All right. Okay. And then the food truck vendors, they were Hispanic. I don't know, what their nationality was or anything, but the guy says, oh, they should be happy that I would come and visit their truck.
Would that be defined as pursuit of happiness?
I don't know. I don't know what makes them happy.
So I double checked it real quick, by the way. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is in the Declaration of Independence, which
Declaration
is
of Independence, yes.
However, in the Constitution, it is life, liberty, and property, I believe. Maybe pursuit of property. Let me double check that language on that. But it is life, liberty, and
property makes sense.
Life, liberty, or property. And I think that that's a really interesting thing to bring up here is the government's...
The fact that we weren't even considered human until a certain amendment. We were actually the property, so technically the Constitution wasn't written for people of color.
But
I'm just saying.
It was.
No, it wasn't. And it wasn't written for women either.
And that's one of the reasons why it's important to classify the Constitution as a living document, because, we can make changes. In fact, that life, liberty, and property part was not until the 14th Amendment, which was after the Constitution was written. And I agree with you, first of all. Second of all, I'm included in that group by one sheer definition. I do not own property. I am a white male, but I don't own property. So according to the Founding Fathers, I would not have been able to participate in that as well. Now, we've obviously expanded it and changed some of these things, but here's the deal. All of us are together. We are the United States of America, according to what we say. Whether we're truly united is down to an individual level, in my opinion. But how are we going to hold our leaders accountable without losing hope to all of this bad news?
Well, that raises a question. So when I asked, like, who is they, right? And we're looking at why we're in a shutdown, right? So a good reason, part of the reason why we're in a shutdown is because there are parts to the bill that do not want to get passed because that will take away healthcare from millions of people. And it's going to increase the premiums for millions of people for healthcare. So as through this conversation that we've had, and I'm hearing loud and clear from everybody here that we all feel that one of our rights should include healthcare, right? That's not a privilege, but a right. That's what I'm hearing, although those weren't the words necessarily used, but that's what I heard. Are they doing the right thing by saying, I'm not voting for this until these things are put back in? That's a big question, right?
I think so.
I do too.
I think so.
I do too, because the leverage, there's very little leverage right now, and I personally do not trust the other party to abide by anything that they say they will when we just open the government. No. So as much as I hate it, I agree with it. For that reason and that reason only. What I do not agree with is there are measures that can be put in place so some of these things that are going to happen don't have to happen. And I think it's the separation that we need to be clear about, that we can still stand off on these items that we want it this way, we want it this way. They can keep that hanging there for as long as they want. But there is a fund that is releasable to feed the people, because I remember in the very early days of living here, when my kids were going through their social studies and economics class, that the basic needs of life were food, shelter, and warmth. Doesn't mean you only get that if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican. Human. Tammy, you're right. This is a humanitarian crisis because they are using humanity to separate. And until we can get over ourselves and realize that we all need the same things, the politics are above all of that. The basic things are not up for compromise. They can't be. No matter who you are.
I will say that this was not an intentional thing, but hunger was one of the things that did start the French Revolution, as you may remember. And, for me, for a long time, I've been very lucky to live the life that I've lived. And I hope for a better future. I hope that we can figure it out, that we can be united, but it's sad because one of the most united things that I could think of would be an alien invasion. You saw Independence Day, because now we're no longer thinking of Republican or Democrats. We're thinking of our neighbor. We're thinking not even us as humans, us as earthlings. And it feels like we're on the Titanic. And I don't know if we've hit the iceberg yet. And I feel that there might be a lot of people that are asleep. And, and that's something that, just while we're here, I just want to bring this up because I don't know if I've ever really talked about it. People are so bothered by the term woke. Think about that. Just think about the physical term of being awake versus being asleep. People are literally saying, I want you to be asleep. Now, I don't know when The Matrix was released, but I'm pretty sure that they talked about that kind of stuff in there, even down to the red pill, blue pill type of thing. And you know, I think it's something for us because I find myself sometimes losing that hope. But then I find it with people such as yourself. I find it by actually encountering people that are out there and recognizing that humanity, because even though we're all behind screens and we're all sharing this, we all need to be able to breathe air. We all need to have that water, the connections, and you know, and those are the very basic things that bind us together. And so I think
well, you kind of teed me up, Charles. You teed me up. So basically you're saying how do we not feel like we're losing hope? That's really like how do we get through it? And like I always say, we have to remind ourselves that the power is not theirs, it's ours. The power is only theirs if we give it to them. The power can remain ours if we choose to keep it. And so we have to remember that every headline is a mirror. So what we're seeing is not just a reflective of the others, it's a reflective of us. It's not about them. The headline's reflected of us. It can't be one or the other. It can't be, oh, we're united, but no, we're not because they're us, other people, right? So the mirror, it's a mirroring us. And so the question is, do we see apathy or do we see agency? And if we choose to see agency, we choose to keep the power in our hands. So I would like to hear from people who will be watching this on YouTube. I'm going to throw out 2 questions. Which issue will drive your vote this election on November 4th? And 2, how do you define accountability? And back to the group, I think there is no way we could be possibly finished with this conversation in 40 minutes. So I would welcome to continue the conversation next week if you're open to it. What say you?
yeah.
Cool beans. Yeah, it's an oldie and a goodie. I like that saying. I'm going to keep it. That one, and awesome sauce.
I am curious, since it's before the election, can we just answer that question real quick? Which issue would drive each of our votes? Tammy, I want to hear from you first.
So for the local elections, you mean, or?
Yeah, do you have
local, and I mean, or really any number one political issue?
Or if you know of a different election, you need to inform us.
I know the election that I am gearing up for. But you're saying the number one issue?
Yeah, what issue drives? I mean, there's a lot out there, but is there?
I was gonna say it's kind of hard for me to kind of pinpoint things, but one thing that really bothers me is the treatment of immigrants. I detest with my whole heart how people are being treated. The very idea that masked people can just abduct you from the street and no questions asked. And then to anyone who says, well, just keep your ID and stuff on you. Who's to say they can't just take your ID and toss it in the bushes somewhere? They're not listening. And then I don't even know if if I'm as fearful for myself. Like my mom is from the Philippines, but she's been a naturalized citizen for over 40 years. This has been her home. The United States has been her home for years and years and years. But people don't even take the time to find out what my nationality is. People just make assumptions depending on how I'm wearing my hair. People may think I'm Spanish. I've gotten Hawaiian. I've gotten a number of different things. But the idea that my mom could be standing beside someone who's Hispanic, and then the assumption is that she's Hispanic, not Asian? Or what if the tides turn and now it's the Asians that they're trying to deport? Or, black, it's just, I don't like that. I don't like it at all. And I don't like hearing people say, oh, well, it's these people. If we're supposed to be United States, let's, number one, start acting like it, because isn't that what the poem says? Bring me your tired, your huddled masses. I don't like it. And so for that reason, I would definitely be casting my vote for anybody that spoke out against it, because right is right. Just treat people decently, treat people with respect, and if what you're doing is so above board, why the masks? If what you're doing is so by the letter of the law, then why isn't the letter of the law being instituted? You know what I'm saying? You're rounding up people, you're disrupting families. In some instances, you're taking people away and you're sending them to countries that they're not even from. Or you're putting them in deplorable situations and stuff. How is anybody supposed to react? And then if somebody in a mask comes up and tries to abduct you, you're not going to fight back. But if you fight back, then, oh, you're resisting arrest. I don't know what this is. I don't know what it is. And I think the same thing would hold true for many of the people who are being affected right now. So anyway, I know I'm not making a whole lot of sense. The
You are.
Would you be
frustration
fair to
is,
summarize that the issue that drives your vote is the treatment of American citizens?
yes.
Okay. I think that's and look, I think that's one of the benefits of having these conversations, is because, these polls will just indicate, and it's just a question, do you support this or whatever? And you don't get a chance to hear the real stories, our stories, because we're writing that own story right now. The American people, all of us together. For mine, real quick, I'm going to hop on it because I know what it is. My issue is unchecked AI. And I think, and this is not a Democrat or a Republican. This is a complete failure on the entirety of the government, allowing AI to come out without really being able to discern. Because what happens if something looks AI? What happens if we have our own War of the Worlds experience through artificial intelligence that we don't even know or can predict? So probably not super hopeful, but Suzie, what about you?
I think most of you know how I feel about the lack of empathy in this world. But if you can comfortably watch what is happening to certain people in this country, if you can comfortably watch that and you vote for that, to keep that, humanitarian crisis is going to steer this vote, in my opinion, because the politics, the party politics, are nothing to do with what's going on. This is about human nature and the fact that we feel that it's okay to come up to people on the street and drag mothers from children and dads from their families and send them to places where, like Tammy said, they weren't even born there. Jail them for what? No. If you think that's okay, we got bigger problems.
I would like to, I think for me, I would say that, treating all humans as humans. So going back to the humanitarian issue and treating all people as equals. And I think when we're talking about ICE and the immigration policy and seeing people kidnapped by masked individuals, This isn't the first time it's happened in this country. It's happened over the course of history. Happened to natives. It happened to African Americans. It happened to Asians. And it's been continually happening with human trafficking. Many women, children, and adults have been taken off the streets, detained, and been put in deplorable situations, have been trafficked around this country, been trafficked around the world. We're seeing another version of human trafficking. And I would like to stop hearing that people's value is tied back to the job they hold, the title they have, the money they have in their account, or if they're a mother or if they're a daughter. It doesn't matter about any of that. They're human. And until we see everyone as human, we will continue to have problems in this country. So, in essence, we also have to vote without a scarcity mindset. If we're afraid that we only have one pie and everybody can only get one slice of pie, and dang it, I want the bigger slice, and if I have to fight for that slice and so doesn't get a slice, guess what, people? Guess what? We can make more pie. We don't have to have one just pie. We don't even just have to have apple pie, man. We can have blueberry pie, cherry pie. You choose whatever kind of pie you want, because we can make more pie. Thank you, South Park. Written by Canadians. So when to me, this election is when you're going in that booth or you're mailing in your ballot, stop just thinking about yourself and think about somebody else for a change. Because at some point, you may want somebody to do the very same thing for you.
100%.
Anything else, Charles? You look like you need a pipe.
Well, I've been looking into a little bit here because I found another kind of theme as well, especially with Virginia and the election and stuff. I could be wrong on this, but Statue of Liberty and the Sixth Emperor Tyrannus, two feminine symbols here in Virginia and also in the Statue of Liberty. And I was kind of a little bit curious. And a few things. Now, this is based off of Google AI, so who actually knows how accurate this is? But first of all, the Statue of Liberty was modeled after the Roman goddess Libertas, representing freedom, while as the woman on the Virginia state flag is Virtus, the Roman goddess of virtue and justice. It's kind of interesting with all this Christian nationalism that's going on right now, which
yo, dude, that's a whole other conversation.
I know, but I'm just saying the fact that we have Roman goddesses here representing these things. So, I mean, hey, I appreciate the fact that those decisions were made. And again, this is also on Google AI, but there is a theory of who the Statue of Liberty was modeled after. And one of those was an African woman who posed for him during the Civil War. So we don't actually know, but I think that would be really awesome and much more appropriate for America.
There are chains at the bottom of their feet.
And I don't want to open up too many more cans of worms, but I do just want to say, I want to appreciate y'all. I appreciate your opinions. I appreciate this conversation. And I find myself that I learn from y'all every time that we get together. So I'm excited for the next time.
Cool beans, which really goes along lines with the coffee Klatch. So let's start this up again next week. And Charles, think about a theme for next week. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
So thank you, Suzie, Tammy, and Charles. And Charles, if you're wearing a jacket next week, I do not condone tobacco smoking, but I do think you need to have a pipe. Just saying. Who here agrees? Raise your hand if you agree.
I can see it.
I mean, especially especially when he was sitting in the wingback chair earlier. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
That needs to be your background next time.
What's that? This one?
The wingback chair and
Oh, wait
study.
Wait till you see the introduction.
The study.
Yes.
The drawing room.
Well, I do. This is a wood paneled room for studying. It absorbs a lot of light. I feel like I got like 4 lamps in here. I'm really just getting old, and I'm just what?
Well, thank you,
His
everybody.
eyes are dimming.
Thank you, everybody, and please keep your eyes open for the following Fridays. Yes, don't close them. Keep them wide open. Don't blink, Charles. For our next episode next Friday. And who knows what those headlines will be. It will be after elections, so I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about the aftermath. Thank you,
think
everybody.
Winston Mears will talk about Jamaica after the election finally?
Well, here's how you turn reflection into action. 1. Check registration and deadlines. Don't assume you're still on the rolls. 2. Research local races. Governors, councils, school boards, they decide daily life. 3. Show up early. Vote before chaos can stop you. 4. Support factual reporting. Independent journalism is democracy's immune system. 5. Be the bridge. Talk to one person who disagrees. Not to win, but to listen. Remember, democracy isn't fragile. Participation is. Protect it by using it. The most powerful office in America is citizen. Okay, Charles reminded us that history teaches. I reminded you what headlines reveal. Both point to the same truth. The story of this country is written in real time by you. So vote like it's your signature on the next chapter, because it is. Join us at www.empowerpeople.org. Follow, subscribe, and evolve together. I'm Tiffany Joy. This is Evolve Together with Empower People. And remember, our story isn't over. It's unfolding in your hands.